Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Snap on Ego. My name is Brad, otherwise known as Bradzifer, and I am joined by, of course, every other week, Chris Bootman. We're here again. This is episode 8.
Is it 8 or 9? It's one of the two.
I think it might be 9. I'm trying to think of the thumbnail I did recently. What was what was that? Was it? Well, let me scroll up through our messages real quick. I'm sure it's in there.
It's
Let me find it. Where is it? Where's this is 9. That was 8. We're on episode 9. Look at that.
Oh man, time is flying. When you're having fun, time's
that means
flying.
This is the 18th week of this show.
Snapping on Ego.
That's weird.
It is.
That's a long time. That's how many weeks are in a year? 54, 56?
52? So
52?
yeah,
Fuck, it's a 50 something. Okay. As far as memorization goes, like I remember a lot of things, right? But that is the one fact that you probably should remember the most.
How many weeks there are?
Yeah, I'm like it's 52, 54, 56. It's one of those three for me every single time. And I can never get it right.
That's amazing.
Ever.
How many months are there?
Oh, there's 12. There's 12 months. And I do the knuckle thing for like, okay, 31, 30, 31, 30.
Now that's the thing I'll never remember.
Except for February, of course, it's 31, 28. Oh my God, is that your girlfriend's message thing?
That's my alarm. That was my Brad alarm. He's like, hey, you better start recording with Brad.
I'm honored. See, I thought for a second, like, because I've met a lot of people that have like that type of alarm or whatever for like text messages or phone calls from like their significant other, and I was like, it's the classic, like, I hate my wife.
No, so if anybody wants a quick fun story off Marvel Snap topic for a second, I used to be a drug addict and alcoholic, so I got really used to setting multiple alarms. Just so I would wake up and everything. But now I still set multiple alarms just so I remember things and schedule stuff. But speaking of, this month in June, this coming month, 11 years sober. Unless I relapse before then, which hopefully doesn't happen. It's been 11 years.
I have faith that you won't. I have the utmost confidence that 11 years in, you're not gonna.
Yeah, I live in Las Vegas. I've been able to do it this long, so city of sin ain't corrupting me, baby.
Yeah, I mean, you traded in a dangerous vice for I guess somewhat dangerous but less dangerous vice in nicotine and Marvel Snap.
Exactly. They both suck up my money just as much.
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, we talked about this before because I have I mean, it's over there on my. I'm not gonna go get it, but I have like the reusable vape, and which, by the way, I still haven't had any nicotine for now 3 weeks.
Crazy.
So wow. But anyway,
congrats, but crazy.
I know. People got mad about that tweet. Okay, for those of you who saw that tweet on Twitter, where I said, I said that I ran out of Nick, like the Nick juice, right? And I basically ran out of pods too. And I was like, I don't feel like going to the store and buying any, so I just stopped smoking. And I haven't had any nicotine for about 2.5, 3 weeks. And I made a tweet a few days ago, basically being like, this is what happened. And, for those of you who are trying to find the motivation to quit and like say you can't because it's might be too hard, it's not that hard. And people got mad being like, well, it's not the same for everyone. It can be really hard for some people. And I'm like, okay, look, I know that. I'm not saying that as like a dig at people being like, you fucking pussy. Just quit. Just quit. Just do it. I'm not that person. Yeah. It's like you're depressed. Go walk in the woods.
Yeah.
Go be outside outdoors. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you need the motivation, it's not as hard as you think.
Right?
It's not as hard as you think it is because it's a mental thing. If I was like I need it, then I probably would have had to go get something. But because I looked at it and I was like, all right, I'm too lazy. And I just kind of let it go.
Laziness benefited you. Look at that.
It was amazing. So, there's that. But yeah, the money in disposables before I switched to a reusable pod. Oh my God. The disposable is like $25 a piece for like the 3,000 puff one. And I'd go through like, 3 of those a week?
Yeah.
I would spend about 20 a week on pods and like juice.
I'm saving some dough, and everybody, welcome to our new vape podcast. But Brad got me into, I got his little one too. I've been switching back and forth as I try to find the right juice. I think I finally did, but I'm still saving like a ton because I'm switching back and forth, especially now that I found some juice that I like.
I'm telling you, the we'll get to Marvel Snap, I promise everybody. But I'm telling you, the fume. Oh, that's my camera's here.
No smoke shop in my town, I've looked at like 10 so far, has it. Like none. Damn. I cannot.
There was only one in my area that has it, but this is my favorite. It's Saltnik. I love the disposables perfume. That's what my go-to was. That's it. Just tastes the best to me, and it doesn't like and it doesn't. It's not harsh. It's like really smooth. Yeah. And I hate the ones that like kind of like linger a bit in your chest.
Yeah,
like I'm not gonna fucking cough or whatever, but like it's just kind of that awkward tickle. Not a big fan.
Some people like to be tough, and like they want it to burn. But you know what? I think that's a good transition to a topic that we didn't talk about before the podcast: the Twitter reactions. Something I've noticed, and I don't think it's specific to the Marvel Snap community, but there's a lot of actually people out there, right? Like,
absolutely.
Well, actually, right? Like I've noticed it forever, but I really noticed it with Howard the Duck as I fight through the gauntlet on that, right? But now that I'm posting some Living Tribunal stuff, we could talk about him in a second if you want. But like, I posted a tweet, and like, you know what? Maybe I'll show you it so you can look at it on Discord just in case you here. You know what? And maybe we'll link it in the description too. So check out this video clip, all right? So I'm like, man, Living Tribunal straight up stealing cubes. He is. I don't try post infinite. I snap and snap back like a lunatic just because I don't care and it doesn't matter. But I'm like, I've gained like 6 ranks just messing around with Living Tribunal. But anyways, this video clip, I share it, and people are like, well, actually, you would have won with Living Tribunal anyways. And in this clip, let me tell you what's going on in it, right? On the left lane, all I have is Mystique and Mr. Negative, okay? So I have a total of like 3 power or something like that. Like,
hold on. I got you. I got this
so like
I can help for the viewers. Hold on, wait, where'd the video go? Is it this one? Oh my god. Yeah. You post so much shit. It took me to your Twitter, and I'm trying to hold on.
It's gonna take you a while. Just use the link I gave you.
I clicked on the link and it was like no. it just took me to the top of your account.
What?
There it is. Okay, hold on. I got it. Hold on.
Okay, cool. I'll give you guys now, the listeners the play-by-play.
Because now I can. No. We can show them.
But what about the listeners, Brad? The listeners.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Let me share.
Stressing me out and making me have to vape.
Let me share my screen. I got nothing on my Twitter that's gonna get me in trouble.
leave it pause real quick. Leave it pause. Okay.
All right.
Because when all the actually people come out, like they forget that you also have to play like an intelligent person, okay? If you look at the game state right now, why the fuck would I stay in for 8 cubes if my board looked like this and I didn't have any kind of plan, right? So on the left lane, I have 11 power. I'm ahead by 2. How do I have 11 power, by the way? Look at that screen. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, what is that from? What is giving you 11 power?
Is that pulling in Living Tribunal's effect before he flips?
It must be. It must be because it hasn't. Hold on, let me see if it changes. I guess because the play is starting, it's just showing it for reference immediately. Which weird. There's no way. Yeah, because look, it's 11 across the board. It's even split.
Okay, so just imagine a regular game. On the left side, I would have had a 0 power Mystique and a -1 Mr. Negative. Okay, against 7 power. They're dropping a card into Quantum Tunnel, okay? There's 8 cubes on the line. Yeah, look, I have 11 on the right, too, so that must be what it is. All right, there's 8 cubes on the line. Why the fuck would I stay in this game if this was the board state, right? Now, hit play. Okay, now watch what happens on the left, on their end. So they flip. Middle, they're screwed because I have Iron Man, whatever. They have 64 power. But anyways, that's fine. On the left, pause it. On the left is Quantum Tunnel, and they just unluckily pulled Bucky. One that is probably the lowest power card that they could have pulled. They got very unlucky there. All right. So anyways, play the video.
Great
And
effect,
boom.
by the way.
I know, right? They're killing it lately. Marvel Snap, Second Dinner, killing it. So this happens, fun stuff, blah, blah, blah. And doop-de-doo, Ironheart goes off, and look at that, 31 power each lane. All right, these locations that buff your abilities, like anything like that, or if you could pull off like Mojo World and win that lane, oh my God, it's amazing with Tribunal. But anyways, people are like, well, actually, you would have won that without Tribunal anyways. And I'm like, look at the fucking board. Look, there it is. Look, here's a guy. I won't name his name, but he's on the screen. Don't go harass him. I already sassed the shit out of him. He says, you posted a video praising a card even though you had won the game without even having played it. I think we could do better than clickbait. Like, what? Like, the well actually people, like, how,
his picture just feels like an well actually guy. I don't mean to bully someone. I'm not trying to bully someone right now, but I'm just saying, like, his picture just looks like a guy I don't want to talk to.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just like, it's just crazy to me that these people come out of the woodwork. Like, this guy doesn't even follow me. They just come out of nowhere to toss in their fucking well actually opinion, and they're just totally wrong about it. You know what I mean? And that just keeps. That's actually one of my buddies here in Vegas. But yeah, there's a few comments like that. I had to retweet it and like explain it to people. Like, you guys, like,
yeah, I see. Yeah.
Like, exactly. Like, nobody would have stayed in that game. No decent player would have stayed in that game had it not been for Living Tribunal. Had me not knowing I was about to equally spread power across the board.
I wonder if they also realize. Because I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt. You think they might not realize, just like how we had to figure it out in that first couple moments where Living Tribunal was acting as its effect before it was revealed? Because you see 11, 11, 11. Maybe they just saw they really weren't thinking about it too hard. They're like, yeah, I see orange on your side, not on his side, and you have more cards flipping than him. Like, you didn't need him. Like, maybe that's what their line of thinking was.
So I'm a little bit older than you, Brad. So back in the day when I first got on the internet, we had these things. I know you're aware of these. We had these things called internet forums. All right, it was pre-Twitter.
I've partaked in a few of these.
We had a Las Vegas based one called Las Vegas Gaming Association, right? And like, we would just sit on there. We even had that guy that you saw, Kuzi, that's where I actually met him, and we went to high school together too. But anyways, there was a whole forum thread called Warzone Motherfucker. And people would just battle and argue in there. But anyways, what I'm getting at is something I learned is don't walk into an internet argument unless you like got your shit down. Because people will make you look stupid in front of a lot of people. So if you're not sure about the effect, if you just glance at it, like, don't come at me. Don't come at me sassing me like, well, actually, you would have won without it. And then accuse me of clickbaiting a fucking tweet. Oh, I'm getting riled up.
Oh yeah, I'm clickbaiting you on Twitter.
Yeah, right. I might. This guy might have me relapsing before my eyes. But Jesus Christ, I'm like, but he wasn't the only one. There was like multiple people. I'm like, you guys.
I'm just glad Living Tribunal was not a big bad. Okay, hold on. I want to backtrack real quick, okay? We'll talk about Living Tribunal a bit more in a second. I want to say, for the viewers and the listeners and the people of the Marvel Snap community who are like, X cards should have been a big bad and stuff like that. I know, shout out to Default Dan for having us on the show last night, by the way, but I know on the show last night you did mention that a little bit in your argument for Dr. Doom. You're like, he should have been a big bad. And my first thought was like, can we stop?
I think maybe I should rephrase. I think he should be more powerful. All right? I will never argue that any card should be a big bad.
Because it's realistically, Null should be one, Dr. Doom should be one, Living Tribunal should be one. There are so many massively huge enemies and villains in Marvel's history that deserve the title of being a big bad. And, you know, I'm just glad that we don't have as many, and we shouldn't, because it's, but hold on. But like I said in my video before, the one where talking about the problem with tech cards, I was like, yeah, if Series 5 should be reserved for big bads only, is my opinion at this point now. There should be no cards, and like, I just pulled my first Series 5 out of reserve last night.
Yeah,
which was
round of applause for Brad. That took a lot of skill, a lot of months of hard work.
Did you see the collection level was at though?
No, what are you at?
at the time of pulling it, the exact collection level at pulling Ironlad was 7,666.
That's the Bradsifer.
Let's go. But like, I shouldn't be this ecstatic about pulling a fucking card because it should just be easier to get it in the first place.
See,
it's not a big bad. It shouldn't be in the Series 5. He should be Series... Every card, unless it's a big bad, should be Series 4 right off the bat. I really think that.
This is where like kind of like my Galactus views come into play too. Like, even though, like, overall, in the grand scheme of things, yes, I agree with you, but how good did that shit feel? Because it's so rare, that was like hitting the fucking jackpot. If you were just getting these cards left and right, you'd be like, oh, I just got another fucking card. But like that, you're like, holy shit. Like, you've done something that some people higher than you still have not done to this day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
but like,
I mean, it's a give and take, right? Because like that dopamine rush of like getting it, like also at first I just looked at it and I was just kind of staring at my screen for a second and I was like, that can't be right.
Yeah, right?
was my initial thought. But that also plays into like the predatory aspect of like mobile games and the way that the economy for Marvel Snap is. So maybe we shouldn't be praising the good feels.
Yeah, you know what Second Dinner should do? Every time someone pulls one, they should have some kind of bot that scans for this and then they say, you're welcome. You're welcome for that quick little
They have a bell that rings. Yeah. It's heard. It's just like basically while you're in the middle of the game, every single player gets a notification of like, this user just pulled a Series 5 card. They're only number 321.
Yeah. But buy credits and level up your collection. It could be you. But by the way,
I didn't
fully explain the way that relates to my argument for keeping Galactus as is. It just feels so good beating Galactus, right? Like if we nerf Galactus and change the way he is, like you will not get that same kind of like I just kicked a bully's ass kind of feeling when you beat him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess before we get into like the actual topics for what we're seeing with High Evolutionary and stuff like that, let's do a quick little recap of like newsworthy things that happened in the last week or so since our last recording besides High Evolutionary. So let's talk about the Galactus discourse. People have been wanting Galactus to be looked at. Glenn said that they are looking at Galactus to possibly change him. And I put up a thing being like, how would you want to change him or whatever on Twitter? And I think the number one thing was him destroying a single lane, was because I put basically exile instead of destroy, so it doesn't work with death anymore. And null. Though in that same vein, I would want to change Wolverine, Arnim Zola, and not Arnim Zola because that actually gets around destroy effects. Wolverine and Nimrod. Change their text to say exiled or destroyed, so at least they still get procced in the Galactus deck.
Yeah,
because that at least because I don't want to kill all versions of it. Then there was destroying one lane, and another one was I don't remember. It was like leave your own, and then there was one other one. I don't remember what the last one was. It doesn't matter. It had like the lowest one. As of just a power cost adjustment. But like I don't know, like. He said flat out that the cube rate and the win rate isn't that good.
Yeah, so I just pulled it up on tap. So basically, for those not in the loop on it, Glenn has just been taking the hits about Galactus, and he's like, listen, we have certain thresholds. It's got to meet a certain like win rate, a certain cube rate for us to even look at it. And like we always said, like Galactus isn't that great. Well, recently that has changed, and Galactus started shooting up. I think he's dropped back down though since High Evolutionary came out, and that's just been in it. But looking at on tap right now, he's definitely dipped down in his cube and win rate, because I think he was up to like 54%. Right now for ranks 70 to 99, it's only at a 50.8% win rate, but it has the second highest popularity as a deck archetype. Only
that was the thing that they said was the issue. Was he's a bit more popular than they want.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is a problem they made for themselves by making big bads a thing. Yeah. It is economically more sound. I know your video about like the token shop and the one you've been saying like you need to bookmark this on Twitter. I know what you're saying. Just do what you want to do and have fun. Play the cards you want to play, that kind of thing. But the average person and the average content creator will tell you if you want to be the most, economically sound and efficient for your token spending, you should get a big bad first. And a lot of people that get a big bad first are going to look at getting Galactus first because it's the most polarizing or unique of the bunch. Now, High Evolutionary could have changed that, right? So we'll have to see, especially with how many players that got it, which we'll talk about that in a bit. But it might be the sunk cost fallacy. It's like you got to get your monies out of it. Like you put in the investment for Galactus, you got to play it. So a lot of people that get Galactus continue to play it, and that might be attributing to why he's played so much.
Yeah. So a couple things. So one of them is, and by the way, like when I talk about Galactus or I shit on Galactus players on Twitter, it's not. Just know, everybody, I'm only talking about the toxic troll Galactus players. Like we know, like they're like our buddy Explodium. He is like an ethical Galactic player. He's not emote spamming, even though he loves the deck. But anyways, I will say this. One of the things is, out of all the big bads, I guess aside from Kang, but people don't use Kang that much, Galactus is the easiest card to play, right? It has a very straightforward play line. Thanos, like remember we did the coaching session with Thanos? Yeah. Thanos, no matter what people say, even when Thanos was in his heyday in that Lockjaw deck before
one of the hardest decks to play.
It's a hard deck. You got to get your reps in. High Evolutionary, not as difficult as Thanos, but you still have to memorize what each of the effects do. I think we're still working on figuring out the right combinations. With Galactus, there's a few different builds and they're very straightforward. Were you able to cheat Galactus out? Cool. Snap, fucking do your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a very much like turn your brain off kind of thing. Not to say that there's no lines or different like opportunities of difficult play for Galactus. I think every deck has that no matter what. Because it's like the thing with Magic. Like a lot of people will be like, if you want to just like play a red deck, it's brain dead. And I hate that argument for like what seems to be service level simpler plays, because what makes a good Galactus player and like separates them from just the average one is winning games without drawing Galactus.
So our fellow content creator D Money, he just lost a tournament to a Galactus deck, and I watched that match. But then Freddie Babes ended up winning the tournament with a Galactus deck. It's not D-Money lost to a different Galactus deck. But my son and I, we actually went back, because my son and I, we have little conversations about Galactus and balancing and stuff. We watched it. Freddie Babes won the first battle of the 2 out of 3 with his Galactus deck. And I think in that whole battle mode, he only pulled Galactus off once. So, like, with what you're saying, yes. Like, now the thing that I'm curious about is if you can win using that deck without Galactus coming out, are there other issues that we need to address? You know what I mean? Is Galactus getting a little too much hate? Because if that deck is decent without Galactus even getting played, that's a tough ground to tread there, because what determines that? Is it pilot skill that makes that deck function without Galactus, or is it the deck itself? I would lean towards the idea of its pilot skill, because I think the average person, if you stop their Galactus play on turn 4 or whatever, let's say like they wave, and then like I arrow because I have priority and bring the Galactus back over to where the wave was. Usually, I would say 9 times out of 10, honestly, even 9.9 times out of 10, like it's almost every single time, that player leaves. Right? Yeah. And now it's probably correct in most instances to leave in that situation because you're, behind. However, I think, a lot of players that are good with the deck or a lot more skilled could find a way to come back from that. It's just, I don't know if it's the deck itself or if it's the players. I think it's the players. Yeah. Definitely players. Some Galactus players are definitely getting smarter too, because I've noticed, like, when they wave or they're clearly playing Galactus and I snap them back, a lot of them are just YOLOing Dr. Octopus out there.
Yeah.
Or they have like an alternative backup. When they get snapped back, they know. And they're like, it used to be that they just left or they stayed in and just threw out their Galactus and hoped for the best. And now they have other options. So like the deck has definitely evolved, and the players, you know, getting in those millions of repetitions with it. So it's interesting. I still don't know what second dinner would do. I think the best route is to do what they tried to do with Shuri unsuccessfully, but they did more successfully with Thanos, which is nerfing the cards around it or adjusting the cards around it, like the way Lockjaw works now, right? Like Lockjaw is still a solid card. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, you killed Lockjaw!" No, Lockjaw's still solid. Calm down.
I mean, according to Marvel Snap Zone, Lockjaw Thanos and Lockjaw High Evolutionary, as well as regular Lockjaw Thor, are all B tier decks or whatever. So like, you know,
still solid. But one thing Dara mentioned he was mentioning on his stream last night, which is another interesting thing about the Galactus deck, is if Spider-Man's text changed, to keep it simple, but it said like the other player can't play, you know, a card here if possible, right? Or something along those lines. So that way, if Galactus shuts it down to one lane, the person could still play there. Does that make sense? But in other board states, if there's 3 locations, they cannot play at that location.
Oh, so the wording would have to be your opponent must play cards in another lane if possible.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
must or like basically like give it like a Morag text almost or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think that'd be interesting to see if they can template it the right way. I'm sure they could to make it more functional.
Yeah.
I just think, I don't know. It's weird. I have a love-hate relationship with Spider-Man. Both in terms of
the best superhero ever.
I mean, you're preaching to the wrong person, buddy. I mean, you've seen the shit in my room. I used to have thousands of dollars in comics that I sold a few years back, but Spider-Man is phenomenal in the sense of the game, and I love the flavor of it. It's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, making sure that, you know, the bad guys can't play on that side, but the good guys can. Like that. I like the flavor, and I like the card quite a bit. And I love using the card. My favorite archetype, my favorite deck in the game, by far, has always been Lockdown. Like a lockdown deck with like Storm, Professor X, Daredevil, Spider-Man. It is the most satisfying to play for me. However, I do find Spider-Man in Galactus a little annoying and frustrating because the difference between a lockdown deck, and I could see people getting annoyed with that same style deck that I play just as much as they could be with Galactus. However, my argument is that the effort put forth by the lockdown player to put you in a position where Spider-Man is effective is a bit more like, you know, the juice has to be worth the squeeze kind of thing. You're doing more to get it out. You're playing more cards. You're committing more things to the board space and trying to finagle the board space and around locations to make it possible for that turn 4, turn 5 play. Whereas Galactus is, not to say that they're not putting in effort, but the effort is seemingly a bit more easily attained, I suppose.
Like, so here's the difference. Like, I definitely know what you're saying, because I used to never play lockdown decks and stuff. Like when the Destroyer deck was really popular, where you like Armor and Ant-Man and stuff on one lane, and then on another lane you did like Destroyer and Colossus or Cosmo or whatever. But like, I actually hit Infinite this season with a lockdown deck, and I'm like really a fan now. But one of the main differences is like with Galactus, and one of the reasons people find it so annoying is you're destroying the other 2 locations, nullifying everything that the person already did, right? And then with the Spider-Man play line, you're not even letting them challenge you in that one-on-one setting on that single lane. You know what I mean? Like, it is just a whole sequence of annoyingness that changes the way the game's going to be played. And especially with Jeff coming out, there are some tools that people have, right, to fight against a Professor X. With Dr. Doom being so popular right now, people can get into storm lanes. So there's a little bit more of like, with a lockdown deck, like, do you have the tools to still win this, right? Whereas like Galactus, it's like nothing on Earth can stop a certain Galactus play line. You know what I mean? You would have needed, like, the times I've beaten Galactus, like when I was playing like an Iron Man deck, like I'd have like just like my demon in that lane, and then I was able to drop like an Iron Man when they dropped their Spider-Man, and just happen to have more power, for whatever reason. So it's definitely annoying. I just don't know what Second Dinner would do. They've invested way too much in the card to like completely delete it.
They absolutely shouldn't. I actually love the card's design, and I love the way that it plays, even though, again, I understand it's a very frustrating card to go against for a lot of people. And I know we've both been the preaching of like saying like it's just retreating for 1 or 2 cubes isn't that big of a deal. But I do understand the frustration when it comes down to it. I get it. So I would like to see them do something with the card that makes it, I don't know if there's anything they can do with the card in general that brings down the or the cards around it that brings down the deck in terms of play rate significantly enough to make people happy while making the deck still functional and still something that can win. Right?
That's the thing, though, man. Like the play rate has skyrocketed, but like has the amount of complaining gone up with it, or was it always the same?
It's always been the same. I feel like it's always been the same.
That's the issue. Now, something just popped in my head. Would it be more like lore accurate if Galactus just straight up destroyed one location? He's like the devourer of worlds. He's not the I think
so. I think so. Yeah, but I think the flavor the way the flavor stands now is this is the way I envision the flavor of the card in its current state. Galactus plays on the single lane, right? He is the destroyer and the devourer of worlds. He has destroyed other worlds behind him, the other ones away, and now he's targeting on the last stand, being typically Earth, and now it's the very last battle in that last lane to try and overcome and defeat Galactus. Like that's how I've viewed it. Like it's the final stand. Where the other locations being destroyed represent the previous worlds he's destroyed, being like, this is what I will do to this one now. Like that.
That makes sense. I wonder if Second Dinner thought it that far through, or if you just came up with the best explanation. But I hope they're listening and they could steal that from you and be like, hey, listen, here's how
that was our intention.
We designed it like this.
But yeah, if he just destroys a single lane, now here's the question that I have about this, because I'm fine with that as a suggestion, right? But two things. One, what happens to Galactus when he destroys that single location? Does he just go to a different location? Does he die himself? What happens? And
what if he just destroyed it and it's just a card sitting there? I still think the only thing that should challenge him is Jeff, if that were to happen, So it's almost like a lockdown, but it would destroy anything there, and then the only thing that can go there is Jeff. It would be like Jeff floating out in space. Just boop, here's Jeff.
I'd be okay with that. Now, the second thing that I got to ask, would this change do anything? Because the deck is already built to try and win a single lane anyway, right? And when it comes down to it, if you just destroy one lane and now it's left with 2 lanes remaining instead of just a single, as the Galactus player, I'm just worried about winning and putting as much power as I can on the single lane again anyway. And if my opponent wins the other lane, that's fine. I'm just trying to win this one by as much power as possible to get the win-off difference now.
What do you mean? What do you mean? How would so like other cards would be there with Galactus or no?
No. In this scenario, right? Okay. Let's say Galactus destroys a single lane. Mm-hmm. That's his new ability. Yeah. Okay. Second Dinner has released that. He's been reworked. He destroys one lane. Yeah. And let's say he doesn't do the thing you just said, like whatever, right? Let's say he destroys the lane, he disappears, or just goes to a different lane, right? And that lane's gone. It no longer exists. No Jeff, no nothing. It's just 2 lanes. Me as the Galactus player will look at one of those lanes and say, I don't give a fuck. I'm playing the exact same way I've always played and putting all of my eggs in one basket on that single lane, because now the game is still about who has the most power in one of those lanes anyway, and I'm trying to win off difference. So I'm asking, does this change, would this hypothetical change of a single lane destruction change anything about the deck?
I think, yes. I think there's some interesting strategy there. So right now, especially just playing a bunch of Living Tribunal since yesterday, I fucking love that card, by the way. But anyway.
It was very cool.
Okay, so picture this. you bait them into stacking power in a lane or two, right? Knowing that you're going to Galactus it, right? Boom, I nullified just what you did. But if they split up their power, cool. Now Galactus is the single winner of that one lane. But it would be a little different because even if you cheated Galactus out, okay, so yes, null would still work, right? But if I locked, if I Spider-Man on a certain lane, that other person still has another lane where they can try to beat you in power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So like there's a little bit more flexibility, and I think it's still big bad enough like where I could take out an entire lane of whatever you had there. Like that's an insanely powerful effect, right? It's basically destroying.
Ooh, interestingly enough, the Professor X interaction no longer works. Which my favorite thing to do playing a lockdown deck, I love it when my opponent goes wave and then they're going to go Galactus and I'm like, I'm going to call out their shot and I land Professor X on that lane and just lock it down and then all the other lanes are gone. That would no longer work.
Yeah.
In this scenario. So now you'd actually go for a different lane with Professor X. So I guess there is some differences in the way this would work. I think, but I do think the deck itself, as far as Galactus is concerned, would function the exact same way.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think you would, like, change the deck at all. You know what I mean? But here's what I will say. I have faith in Second Dinner. Like, I think for a while they went on this streak of making some very questionable buffs, nerfs, card changes. But recently, like the last 2 months maybe 3, they've been killing it. I haven't seen them do so. Like, remember when they took Galactus down 1 power and everybody was like, what the fuck? Like, you just, you made the deck better and they still haven't changed it to this day, right? Like, everybody's been saying it. They're like, look, you don't want priority with Galactus and you just made it better. But anyways, I have faith that when they do make this change, maybe we'll see it's something that one of us is talking about. Maybe it'll be something completely different, but I'm keeping the faith that they'll do something reasonable, you know?
Yeah. One other thing I want to touch on real quick. This one won't take as long. I don't remember their name, but it's one of the head balance designers for Second Dinner. They'll post on Twitter like this is the best version of a deck or whatever sometimes.
Is it Tian?
I think so. Yes, I think so. They posted a screenshot that has since been deleted when talking about a high evolutionary build that featured a particular Zabu as a 2-1 in their deck list rather than a 2-2. Now, do you think this is a upcoming potential nerf to Zabu that they're considering? Or do you think it's a nerf that they already had considered when they were testing around and playing around with the idea of messing with the Darkhawk deck, and then they eventually landed on Black Bolt and Stature?
Like, I have no idea. I literally just stumbled across this. I think it was a mobile gamer. He made a video. I was like, wait, what's this? Because it was like, you know, potential Zabu nerf coming or something. I saw that. I was like, what the fuck? And I'm trying to think about it because I think Glenn has talked about Darkhawk because, like, people are, like, bitching, like, how come you're nerfing everything around Darkhawk but not Darkhawk? But he has the same answer, right? Like, Darkhawk is in a good spot. He's not, you know, something crazy, you know, whatever. So I with that being said, I would find it weird that they're planning on nerfing Zabu. You know, I think the changes they made to Zabu, it seemed too much and it seemed like it killed that archetype, but like, it's just like a decent utility kind of techish type card. Yeah. So if they did, so speaking of them being on a good track record, if they nerf Zabu, I think that would be a crazy change. But also, if I think about it for a bit, I don't think it would affect his decks too much.
I don't either. A 2-1. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I actually would kind of be okay with I don't know, it's tough because it's a weird little slippery slope, but I would be okay with a lot of these tech cards, or like enabler cards, like things like Iceman, like Zabu, stuff like that, having the Psylocke treatment of being lesser powered for what you get. Yeah, because that's how Psylocke is. She's a 2-1.
Yeah,
and it's kind of weird that Psylocke's a 2-1, but Zabu's a 2-2 when Zabu's ongoing. And yes, it's restricted to, you know, a single cost or, you know, card cost rather than Psylocke just being energy manipulation. But
I think they could justify it. If it happens, I don't think the world will come to an end. You'll see people complaining, and you know that can lead into the other changes that they made along with this stuff, because they did nerf the stature Black Bolt package, which like
I think it's still good, by the way.
Yeah, it's still like the top deck. I think it's still one of the top decks. Yeah, still one of the top decks. It's like
I think I mean it's I think it's a perfectly fine adjustment. It's a total of 2 power. I saw some people say that maybe stature should be changed to a 4 cost now, just because playing her on like without the discard ability makes her a 5/6 now, which is very not on rate comparatively to like Captain Marvel, who at least has the ability to move and win you a location later in the game. Stature is like she should be a 4/6, but then technically she's above rate from what they're saying now, because now they're putting everything at a 4/5, and then she gets the benefit of Zabu. So now that's actually kind of a buff because she can either be 1 or 3. Just like how Miles is. I think that'd be too good. But I think for now, the deck's perfectly in a good spot.
Yeah, I've been playing with it. I had some challenges. Like one of my missions was to play 4-cost cards, so I just went to the deck I've been playing with, and like the deck still seemed totally fine. Yeah. So yeah, I was cool with it. But then they also, so here's the 2 that they buffed. They buffed Invisible Woman. They took her to a 2/3, and then they also buffed Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I've been playing, I've been playing a ton of Invisible Woman just because I've been playing around with Living Tribunal builds. Like, I don't know if Invisible Woman's like more viable now, like with one more power.
I think she's the same as she's always been. It's just now she's gone from a Cerebro 2 staple to a Cerebro 3 staple.
Yeah, I've yet to try that. Did you try that deck yet?
I have tried. I've soldered into Cerebro 3, and she was perfectly fine. Like it was just another way to hide your Cerebro if you needed to. And I thought it was kind of nice. But that's really it. Like it's nothing incredibly special.
Yeah. So yeah, like I haven't noticed. I want to play. I love Cerebro 3. Like when I was playing around with it, just with Valkyrie and stuff like that, because I love Valkyrie so much. So yeah, I still need to give that a try. I haven't noticed it at all, like in the Living Tribunal builds I've been doing. But Negasonic Teenage Warhead, this is one of those cards and buffs where I think a lot of people are insanely wrong about this. And like, listen, you know what? I mentioned this on Twitter. Brad and I agree on so much shit. We don't agree on everything, but we agree on so much shit. And it's just weird because I'm like, we're not contrarians. I just feel like we're thinking things through a little. I don't know. I just think we're thinking a little differently. But when it comes to Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I keep seeing people say, the quote unquote obvious, you could buff her to like a 3/7. What's it matter? She explodes anyways. Like, listen, I played so much Negasonic Teenage Warhead. All right? So much. I cannot tell you how many games I played where she was on the board at the end of the final turn. All right? So
yeah, I've noticed that too.
Her being a 3/5 is good. It's a good thing. Like people are, I just feel like people go to the quick, easy answer on it, right? Like, oh, Howard the Duck, he doesn't have 20 power. Fuck that card.
Yeah, it's very, very surface level thinking. And when it comes to a card game or any game with strategy or any thought process whatsoever, you have to go a bit more beyond the pale. And kind of understand like what the nuances of every card is. For example, Negasonic, what I would perceive as a surface level thinking about her is I've been trying her into like the location deck quite a bit. And I do enjoy on occasion, if I don't have like the Spider-Man and Professor X setup, I will play her on turn 3, and then I'll just like basically tell my opponent, you can play into that if you want. And if they don't on turn 4, I'm like, okay, I'll Professor X on top of her.
Yeah, so
and then that guarantees you that lane.
One of the best decks I played with Negasonic was one that Mega Mogwai came up with. Rest in peace. He went back to Runeterra. I think he said like I'm going to still kind of do both. But
he used to be a big Magic streamer too. That's where I first discovered him.
I love him. The dude is so creative and stuff like that. And since I'm learning Runeterra, I'm glad he's making content that I can like check out. He's very good at explaining stuff. But anyways, he made a deck, and it was a Surfer deck, right? And like that's perfect for Negasonic Teenage Warhead because you're getting value in one of two ways, right? You were before, but now it's even more, where it's like, A, you either blow their shit up, or B, Surfer's going to come around and turn her into a 3/7. It's something, I need to make a video on that this week because I want to play around with that deck. I've been thinking about it since they buffed her, and I just haven't yet. But Yeah, and I wanted to go back because I was like, what was that tweet that Brad said? Let's discuss this for a second because this has been an unpopular opinion. But so Brad's tweet, he said, I genuinely don't understand how the Iron Patriot deck is considered one of the best in a meta with Enchantress and Rogue running around like wild. Invisible Woman isn't enough to salvage those matchups. Like, you guys, like, Brad, I felt like I was taking crazy pills. I hear it and I think the community's smart enough, so I won't just like shy around this. I cannot tell you how much I love and respect KM Best and everything that he does. But sometimes I think there's something to be said about these guys who are in the bot purgatory and they aren't seeing what we're seeing, like the majority, like the 90% of players, and it's a completely different experience. This
that actually raises a great point. I don't mean to cut you off, but you just gave me a little epiphany. When we look at, like, because I already talked about the whole thing about, like, you know, how tier lists can be misleading and stuff like that because, you know, you're not getting the actual full numbers, the full scope. You're getting a very small percentage of the player base in which they voluntarily, you know, allow this tracker to look at their games. How many of these top decks are skewed even by a small percentage? Like, let's say it's by 3% or so. Like, then that's small in one look at it, but it's really big in someone's perception. A difference between a 50-point change win percentage to a 53, 54% win percentage is very different in someone's mind.
Oh, yeah.
As well as the cube rate. All because some of the people that are playing these decks are playing them in these high MMR bot territories.
Yeah. Like, yeah, and I really just want the audience to get that. It's a shitty situation that I think this is something Second Dinner hasn't even vocalized that they're even planning on fixing. But here's the problem. A lot of the top players, because it's human nature, right? If I want to learn how to get better at the game, I'm going to go to the top players. What do we have to gauge top players on? Their rank, right? But the problem is the people in the top rank, since we have the bot problem with the high MMR, like, you can't go to them. You can't look at it. Like, if you just go to untapped.gg and you even filter this by rankings, you will not see, like, the Patriot deck is, like, so far down the list on here. And when I'm listening to Kame Best podcast, again, respect the hell out of him. I think he's an amazing, smart player. The way he thinks about the game is very, very good. I love it. But anyways, because I don't want people to think I'm talking shit. I just think it's almost like a rich person giving me financial advice, right? It's like, listen, before Brad and I started recording, we were talking about nepotism. So someone being like, oh yeah, hey, it's easy. Just go take your fucking college exams and then just go to an Ivy League college. Like, oh yeah, but did you mention that you were able to afford like SAT prep courses? Your father was an alumni at it. You know what I mean? Like, we're having different experiences. But anyways, like this Patriot deck, they're talking about how they're seeing it everywhere. I'm like, you're seeing it against your people. For rank 70 to 99, it has a 1.4% play rate. And to give you like a little perspective on that, so High Evolutionary is at 22%. That's how crazy that is. Galactus is at 13%, but control decks are at 10%. The other top decks are at 3%. So is the Iron Patriot deck, is it really being played that much? Is it really that good? You know what I mean? Like, it has a 0.08 cube rate. 0.08. Most of the top decks are at 0.1 something. They're over 0.1. The Sarah Control deck, which is the top one, is at 0.25. There's like nothing out there that says this is a top deck. And Enchantress being taken from a 4.6 to a 4.5 didn't change anything. But the other thing I really want to mention, like I said, my son and I, we went to watch that Galactus tournament gameplay. I don't know what it's going to take to fix this, and it might just be players, and maybe it's why I champion tech cards so much, because I was curious. I'm like, how does a Galactus deck win a tournament? I started going through and watching a bunch of matches, watching a bunch of different people, and we talked about this on Dan's little game show last night. Go check out Default Dan over on Twitch. But people aren't playing fucking tech cards. In tournaments, people aren't playing tech cards. If you go to tournaments, you look at the top decks, it's like, a month or two ago before Shuri was nerfed, it was like Shuri, Thanos, da-da-da-da-da. People are not playing tech cards. So, and the reason I say this is because the other argument they make is Iron Patriot It's been winning tournaments. It's like, well, of course, because people aren't playing tech cards. You know what I mean? I wish the ladder was like that, but it's not. People are going into these tournaments slamming down power. So I think once there's some real money in the Marvel Snap tournament scene, you're going to see smarter players coming in. If the sideboard ever gets implemented, people are fucked. All right, like people are fucked. If you have your little pool of tech cards just ready to go in between, like it's going to be bonkers. But
I think that'd be so good for the game too. Like, okay, so there was this tweet from what was it, D Money, who also released a video recently about Galactus and their issues with it. They tweeted this a few days ago. They said, lost in the $500 tourney twice to Galactus. Fuck Galactus, interactive piece of shit, ruins all the fun. Delete it now. That is all. And I quote tweeted it, saying, I understand their frustration, but if you're entering a tournament with 2 decks, which they did say it was a 2-deck format, and one of them is not Galactus, then both of your decks should have cards in them that counter Galactus. That's on you if you're not prepared for the meta, especially in cash prize tournaments. So it just goes right into that.
I really don't get it. Like someday, like the community's gonna wake up and realize that tech cards are amazing. Like you guys, like why do you think Sarah Control has been one of the top decks like since the beta?
It is flexible.
Yeah, like you're putting down power, but it's one of the reasons Magentris was so good. It's why I love tech cards, right? Because you have answers for things. You're able to take away power, right? If somebody is over there, it's like the tortoise and the hare. You know what I mean? Like you're outsmarting them. You're counteracting their entire plan. So I can't wait for Conquest mode. I think we might see it a little bit more. Like I am planning on playing a bunch of Conquest mode.
That's most likely going to be my main mode, by the way.
Yeah, like
that, because that's what I thrive in best of 3 formats. That's where I'm better at playing the game, because I think the snapping aspect of it fucks with my grinding a little bit. Because I'm also thinking about like where I need to snap, when I need to retreat, and like I have less fun. Where the Conquest mode, I can be more efficient and just like playing the game.
Yeah, I think / hope in this mode, tech cards are going to shine. Like, I think...
I would imagine, yeah.
And, like, I really just want to perform well so I can be like, look, tech cards, especially Howard, right? Like, having that edge over your opponents, knowing what you're going to pull. Like, just even playing Living Tribunal and a ton of High Evolutionary last week, I haven't been playing Howard as much. I cannot tell you how many situations I've been in where I'm just staring at it. I'm like, I wish I knew what the next card was going to be. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I knew, because I'm looking at it, and I've ranted about this every single day. The dumbest argument against Howard is, how would it change what you're going to play? And it's like, if I'm looking at my hand on turn 5 and I have 3 or 4 different play lines I can do, Howard does quite a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, information is one of the most important things of any card game.
Yeah. So I don't know. People need to put some respect on these tech cards, and hopefully, like you said in your video essay, they do something and bring tech cards to a reasonable buy. Even with, I've made 2 High Evolutionary, I'm not High Evolutionary, I made a bunch of those, but I made 2 Living Tribunal videos, and I can't tell people, yes, spend 6,000 tokens. I think every tech card is worth 3,000, but I can't say spend 6,000 on it. Living Tribunal, if I had to argue it, and maybe we could talk about him for a second, I would say he's probably one of the closer ones to being worth 6,000. The cube equity on that card is fucking insane. It is insane.
Yeah, the surprise factor of it, which I don't know if that's going to get better or remain the same, because it's really hard. Because like, how do you, like, let's say we get to a point where the Living Tribunal deck pops up, right, and it's 5% of the meta. Nothing huge, but a substantial amount nonetheless that you will see on the ladder. You're telling me you have to be aware of the math of Living Tribunal now if you see them stacking a particular lane, and like having to figure out how to spread out your own power in that way too. That's a whole other aspect of the game you have to account for that I don't think you can reasonably account for or win as well as you'd like to in most scenarios. I think that's one where you have to like see the writing on the wall and retreat. It's kind of like that, not Professor X, I'm sorry, that the Black Panther Wong combo that you would see people set up like months ago. Yeah. Like before, you're like, if they have it and you're like, I don't have the counter to it, then you just kind of like deal with it. So yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's almost like the Doctor Doom effect, but more. And that one we just played a clip for, like, what was my ending power? It was like 40 on each lane. It was fucking
30.
nuts.
It was 31.
31. In the new video I post, that's probably what I'm thinking of. It's like 40. It's a hella discard deck, and so I had to eat my hella words just a little bit. It's still a very choreographed thing where if you don't have your play line, you just like get out of there. But anyways, like, yeah, the cube equity on it's insane, but I think we're in a very unique situation because we're coming off of High Evolutionary, like the most purchased Series 5 card, going into one that nobody's talking about because there was so much focus on High Evolutionary. So like right now, it's just like strategically, if I want to be real strategic with my tokens, I think it's a decent buy because people aren't expecting it, right? But like you said, once it becomes more popular, things will change. But like playing so much of this, like I've probably played well over 100 games like since it released last night. Like I'm having so much fun with it. I do think that we've barely scratched the surface of what this deck or what this card can do in decks. Right now, a lot of people are doing the very obvious, just the most powerful cards, or like Iron Man and Onslaught of figuring out how to cheat it out. But like, I think there's more, and I don't even know what that is. But I'm just playing. I'm like, I think there's something more here.
Maybe a destroyer deck, or like that type of idea where you just try to isolate one or two lanes in general, and you kind of leave another one completely alone, and you present it in a way that is because like similarly, like destroyer would have the ongoing spectrum kind of package, right? Maybe you could do that in a way where instead of Spectrum being your pivot card, where that's your options on turn 6, it's Living Tribunal. And then that doesn't keep you interlocked with the ongoing thing. And maybe you can explore other cards that you normally wouldn't be playing in a Destroyer shell to see what you can output the most power of. Like maybe things like you can do Cosmo to like, stop a Destroyer still. But then you can do things like Maximus as extra power. Obviously the Atuma armor thing is nice.
Yep.
So I like that idea quite a bit. And then if you don't have Destroyer, you can pivot into Living Tribunal. Maybe that could be something.
I think somebody mentioned on Twitter, but there might be something there with like a Destroy package and Null too, right? If you can cheat one of the cards out early with like a wave or something. Because one of the decks I was playing yesterday, I was watching Paper stream. He had a few decks lined up, and I like watching him because, like I've been telling people, like Paper's a smaller creator, and he's a deck builder, so he's making things that a lot of people aren't, so they're very surprising. And a deck that he made was a control kind of lockdown deck. It had Professor X, Claw, but it also had Wave. And you would wave out either your Iron Man, Tribunal, or Onslaught, right? Mm-hmm. And like you would cheat that stuff out, but then it has me thinking like, okay, well, if you get Wave in and you could cheat out just one of your high power or your high cost cards. So like get an early Null out. It can't be Shang-Chi. It could be Enchantress, right? But then we also now have a 3-cost Negasonic Teenage Warhead. So if you can blow up something powerful on their end too, buff up your Null, Tribunal it, like, and like you're saying too, I hadn't even thought about that package. So I think there's some stuff there, and I'm hoping more people get it, but I think Tribunal's in a unique spot where it's not popular enough for people to expect it, so you just steal cubes. Because people are snapping, and they're running through every single card they can think of, and they're like, there's no way this person can get power. Because, you know when Marvel Snap, you get in those checkmate scenarios where it's like, oh, well, they like if I put it here, there's no way they can spread their power like that.
Yeah.
Living Tribunal completely changes that. And something I never thought of until I started playing with the card, he completely works around negative power locations. Like Necrosha, and the other, like Necrosha, is that the one that takes -2? There's another one that does -3.
Yeah, and then it was like Containment Zone or something like that.
Yeah, and there's Jotunheim, right? That like decreases your power so people avoid it. You just play around it, and then boom, you get power there. Like it is bonkers what that card's doing.
Yeah, it's literally just the Nexus on a body.
Yeah.
That's what Living Tribunal is. Instead of rather implementing this singular location to everything, it's distributing it evenly. And I think that's a very powerful effect, because how many times have you gotten to a game against someone where Nexus pops up and they snap, or you snap? because it's like, oh, I'm confident that I can contest this lane and get the most power.
I won another match. I tweeted this video out too, but I did not attribute it to Tribunal for the actually people out there. But there was Space Throne on the left, Nexus was on the right, and I was playing the Hella discard deck. Well, anyways, they snapped on 5 and they Spider-Man the Nexus, right? Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter because, like you're saying, Tribunal is his own Nexus, but
which actually even puts it onto the Nexus, and then the Nexus redistributes back to the other lanes.
Exactly.
That's fucked.
So the only reason I didn't attribute it to Tribunal was because my Hella coming back, it slammed down like Death or something over where they blocked the location anyways. Yeah. But had I been using a different deck or whatever, them locking down Nexus wouldn't have mattered. Oh my God. In the new video I put up.
That's awesome, by the way.
In the new video I put up, Brad, there's a clip. I need to turn into a YouTube short. I was playing against a lockdown Thanos deck. They Professor X'd the lane with Nebula, and they had 2 stones there. They had 17 power on that lane. I had 0.
Oh, I saw it. I saw it.
Yeah. I had 0. I ended up winning that lane with no cards there. I had 21 power. Like, that's nuts. That's crazy. So, I think there's
this card's going to be the bane
decks.
of my existence as a lockdown player. Oh, sweet, I got this down. But yeah, I like this card a lot. I don't know if we're not going to see its numbers up to where High Evolutionary is, I don't think. No. But how do you feel about that, by the way? How do you feel about like the way High Evolutionary has been like easily the most purchased Series 5 card ever?
So part of it sparks joy for me just because that's the number one complaint about Marvel Snap. You don't get enough new cards, blah, blah, blah. Everybody was saving up. It was just like a brand new toy for everybody. But I've never been in a situation like I'm a very like stats data type guy, and like everything's fucked right now. Just like
you can't look at anything High Evolutionary as like genuine.
Yeah, you're trying to find the signal in all the noise.
The best deck is a lockdown deck at the moment for High Evolutionary. According to the Cube Raid and tier list and shit, asterisk. And
is it like is it because High Evolutionary is making control better, or the lockdown better, or was lockdown just already good and you toss High Evolutionary in there?
Lockdown was already good. I'm telling you, man. I fucking climbed the fuck with that deck. I mean, considering this season, and I haven't even been climbing that aggressively. I started at like 30. Because I think I finished at 70 last. Did you drop 30 or 40 ranks?
You dropped 30.
Okay, I started at 40 then. Because I got to 70 something last season. I didn't get to 80 because I was like, I just don't feel like pushing. And I'm at mid 80s right now. And I've just been playing pretty much exclusively location decks. So to go, I mean, I'm not at infinite yet. And I'm going to try and make that push for the last few days. But to go from 40 to mid 80s on a single deck, I think is a testament to at least something with that deck, right? Like,
so you use that deck from 40s to the 80s just in the last week?
Pretty much the last. I pretty much been grinding a lot more the last 2.5 weeks, and I've been exclusively playing location.
Yeah, I was meaning to make a video on that deck because I saw KM Best. He made a video on it, and here's my shout out to him in a positive light. He did a really good job breaking down and explaining the deck, and because with High Evolutionary, especially with some of the negative effect cards like Cyclops, right? Like you save an energy, right?
And that's great on the Storm location.
Yeah, right? So you Storm, and then you put as much shit as you can into that Storm location, hopefully a Cyclops. And like if you just put Cyclops on turn 4 in the Storm location, he's going to hit whatever they have there, right? Then you play Spider-Man on turn 5, locking down another location. Cyclops tags the other people there again. Like it, so maybe it is High Evolutionary. It's a damn good deck.
It does make. Now I would like to be clear on something. I've only played the High Evolutionary version maybe a total of 10 games. The majority of it has been the non-High Evolutionary version.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is more traditional because the High Evolutionary one doesn't play Daredevil because it doesn't really have the room to fit it. I go with like a Nebula, Daredevil, Storm. I play Jeff. Like I am way more in on just this. I also play Captain Marvel. I'm telling you, Chris, for the last 3 months, my favorite play has always been turn 3 Storm, Turn 4 Spider-Man on a different lane. Don't even give a shit about the Storm lane. Turn 5, Professor X over Spider-Man. Turn 6, Captain Marvel. She'll fly over them because 9 times out of 10 they don't have enough power to beat 8. That's if you do it right. If you hit an empty lane first and they have to commit only on one turn, they usually don't put 8 power there. Right?
Do you think Captain Marvel's better than Doom?
I run Doom as well. But usually in that particular line, I value Captain Marvel more because you get that one extra power.
So what about this? I'm curious. You're going to have to share your deck list. If you have time, here, as I talk, maybe put your deck list on the screen for the ladies and gentlemen. But because what I'm wondering, whenever I see these turn 6 5 power cards, this is one of the decks that helped me climb a lot this season too, is a 1 power card with it that's really good. And Kitty is an amazing one. So if you think about that, if like on these kind of off turns, you're kind of buffing your Kitty, and then on turn 6, you could drop a Captain Marvel and a Kitty or something to that effect. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's room for it, but a lot of people are running Nebula in these lockdowns anyways, though, so you storm on the Nebula lane too. But the version I was running that I hit Infinite with, it was a Destroyer package where you have because what I did was, it was right when they buffed Venom and everybody thought Destroy was going to be the best thing. So I made a deck called Destroy This, LOL. And it had armor and it had Cosmo. And it was just like, they couldn't do anything with it. And I climbed quite a few ranks to Infinite with it. So but you even mentioning that, there's a lot of different variations.
Oh, there's a ton of them. Like, it is insane. I'm trying to find. I know I had a picture of the of it that I just had. Trying to find it. Is it this one?
You're not running Juggernaut in it. Drewberry smoked us last night with his Juggernaut tech card.
It's one of these. I just grabbed a bunch of them.
Hey, listeners or viewers on the YouTube channel, leave a comment down below. Is Storm a tech card? Brad got in a little trouble last night. Me and Drew had your back though.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a tech card.
I think so too.
I think it's pretty easily a tech card. So I don't have the absolute most up to date one, because I'll share this one because this is the one that's close. I think it's this one. Yeah. All right. So this is the one I've been running lately. I've actually been running Orca, which has been really interesting. I found Orca to be actually pretty solid. Because so before I would run, I ran something else beside Orca. It was another small thing, just like to get more early game stuff. Maybe it's another 3-drop of some kind. And I was starting to find, I'm like, there are games where like Doom doesn't cut it. I'm already winning the other 2 lanes, and I've already maybe played Gamora or something like that, and I really need to put in a lot of power in a single lane. And Orc has the flexibility of being, if it's the single card there, it gets to 16 power, where otherwise it's a 6/11, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, because I don't like Magneto in this list. I really don't. The reason I don't like Magneto in these kind of lists is because I don't want to pull their cards to this lane. I'm trying to lock down the other lanes in general. Yeah. Now, I did cut Scorpion, and I've been running Negasonic Teenage Warhead in its place.
Wait a second. You got the Gwenpool Jeff variant?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I want that one. It won't pop
Yeah, I got it literally the day after I bought Jeff. It was in my shop.
Dang.
And I was like, oh, yeah, we're getting it.
Like, it's so annoying now that I'm actually into variants. I can't get the ones I want.
Well, my girlfriend really likes the Jeff variant here because her dog that recently passed like a month or 2 ago was literally about the size that Jeff is being shown there, and she would literally like to be held just like that. And she did the exact same thing with her arms and legs, where it's like she doesn't know what to do with them, so they just kind of are stiff, staying like that. Yeah. So yeah, it's a really nice variant for that. But yeah, this is mostly the list I played. Again, I cut Scorpion. I think Scorpion is perfectly fine in the list. Orca, I'm not all in on. It's something I've been trying lately, and I like it. There was another version that I was going with that was to counter against High Evolutionary, which is what I ended up making the video on. It was this one. So Negasonic, Luke Cage, which I ended up liking this version quite a bit. So I actually ended up, I cut Luke Cage, put back Orca when I stopped seeing as much High Evolutionary. But yeah, I kept Negasonic in, is what it ended up being. And I like this version quite a bit as well. Luke Cage is really nice. Negasonic has been pretty cool as well. Nice turn 6 play. Sometimes if you don't have priority when you storm a location, it's nice to just play her on that location, just get that 5 power on the photo location. I like this deck quite a bit. I think it's pretty good. I would recommend anyone who likes this style of gameplay at all to give it a shot.
Yeah, it's something that I only recently got into. I think more people should play it. It does frustrate the opponent, but like we said earlier, it's below Galactus. But like, the other thing we wanted to talk about though with High Evolutionary, because I'm curious your thoughts on this. Like with it just being such an exciting card that so many people bought, like, and like I was saying, I'm just glad people got a new card. Like, do you think like Marvel Snap, I don't know if the right word is more effort, but like make more interesting cards, or do you think it was just more popular just because people are like, okay, a big bad, cool, I don't have to decide as much, I can just go straight into it. But it just seemed to shake up the community in a way that we haven't seen in such a long time. But it also, here's the other thing. Okay, so there's a 2-part question for you. Do you think they should make more interesting cards like this? But also, I was sitting there as a whale who buys all the new cards and stuff. I'm like, I wonder if this is making people realize, hey, maybe it's good not everybody can get the newest card on the same day. Because the first 24 hours was like 100% mirror matches, or at least like in the 90%. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, it really was. And I kind of agree with that sentiment of like, maybe we shouldn't want this so much, right? But yeah, this is like what's considered the best one at the moment is this High Evo control, High Evo lockdown type of thing, which I think is still pretty good. I actually like the addition of armor quite a bit. I especially if you're going Sunspot and Nebula, I feel like Killmonger is a bane to your existence.
I took armor out of this deck. Like, why is armor in here? What does armor do?
To protect Sunspot and Nebula.
Nah. I got
absolutely.
What did I do? Why did I don't know. I feel like I think I was running it for a while. I'm like,
3 1-drops that are very powerful when you get the value out of them, my guy. Like even Misty Knight does put in work. I can we stop with this slander of being like Misty Knight's the worst card in all of them? I'm sorry. I think Shocker.
I know they're out there.
I think it's Shocker.
For sure.
1,000% because it's always Shocker. The left card, and like that's the one I'm always like, I see the value in it when it works, but a lot of times it's just not as good as you'd want it to be.
Yeah, cost reduction is such a huge thing in this game, and it's huge. Like that's why Zabu's so popular. That's why Sarah's so popular. But the leftmost card, like, God, like think about it. I always get them mixed up. Nakia or Okoye, they hit the 2 leftmost cards, right? Like those are hard enough to get real value out of. And now we're talking about just using it on one. Like when it does hit, like when you're able to get like a 5-cost Hulk or something like that, dope, right? But other than that, like sometimes you're just like when High Evolutionary is the leftmost card in your hand, and you're just like, I don't want to play you regardless. Like even if you're 3, like what am I going to do? Like surprise you on turn 6 instead of playing Hulk? Like what am I going to do here? But I
mean, to answer your question, I do think it's a little, it's hard because I don't think it's as much as to say I don't want everyone to have the same card right on release. It's more so I do want that, but I want there to be more than one card out at once. Because remember, when we got that big initial drop of like 15 new cards, the meta was insane, but it wasn't full of mirror matches.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
That was a ton of cards.
That was great.
So maybe some solutions, because I think there's a happy medium. Maybe just stick out their normal schedule, but like quarterly they have a massive drop. right? Where they drop like 10 cards.
Oh yeah, they
you know
really
what I mean?
should.
Like they could do that quarterly. Like there's like 6,000 Marvel heroes and villains, I think, and we have some people where there's like 2 versions of them anyways in the game. So like there's even more.
Why don't dude, lean into the card aspect of it. Make them packs and be like, here's the the quarterly drop of the new set that's coming out. It's this set. You're not, and the great thing about that is you don't have to be tied into the season pass release thing of like it's tying in with this movie, this show, that kind of thing that Marvel likes to do with them. They can just be like, we can't figure out, like, for example, Gore the God Butcher. Where are they going to release that? Because that card's been data mined and we know what it does. We just don't know what cost and what power it's going to be. And that could change, of course, but when are they going to release that if they adhere to the current schedule of like, we like to release things with other shows? Maybe they just throw him in with like the Loki season pass when the season 2 comes out, because it's like, it's an Asgardian type of thing. Like he's not Asgardian, but he's part of that storyline, not Loki, but that you get what I'm saying. He's in that realm.
I get what you're saying.
Like they could do that, I guess, but this gives them an opportunity to be like, we don't know where the fuck we're putting this. Here you go. And then just put in the shop, put packs, and you have a chance of pulling cards from the pack. And like the pack is like basically like a reserve or whatever, and you're guaranteed to get like 1 card out of it, and you like maybe you limit to X amount of packs. Like you can't buy, like I don't know how you want to, but they could monetize the fuck out of it in a way that gives people a way to get the cards.
That's the thing. Again, going back to me finally being interested in variants, like there's so much, as predatory as people say Marvel Second Dinner is, they're leaving so much money on the table, just even with the variants, right? If the variant shop rotated every time the token shop did, they'd like triple their revenue stream, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like every day, like now, because I've gotten to this weird point. And
also, just make avatars and shit and titles a thing you can buy. Get them out of reserves. Get them out.
Yeah, or put them in the packs. Like that's something when you were saying packs. Like a pack could be
a cosmetic
could include
thing.
boosters, variants, titles. You know what I mean? And then like 1 Series 4 card and or 1 Series 5 card. They have a couple tiers. Like you could put a bunch of shit in there. It's almost like a chest. You know what I mean?
But pack sounds more fun. You get to design. Dude, I would love to be a graphic designer for that, to like design a foil pack, like an actual like cracking packs. That's Well, I love cracking packs.
Back in the day. So this is something I never talk about for some reason, but like growing up, I used to get the Marvel trading cards. It wasn't a card game, but just like the cards.
Yeah, the
and
collectibles.
I fucking loved it. That was like the original loot boxes, right? It's like, what are you gonna get? One time I had a whole series. My dad got it for me. It was like a whole series uncut, so it was like this big poster board almost. It was just like every single card from that series. It was gangster. But yeah, they could do something like that. I still always, forever and always, go back to Drew Barry's idea when he was on our podcast a few months ago, was season passes. You could pick one of the 4. Here's one of the cards coming out this month.
I do like that idea.
Because that just puts variety out there. You know, every time it's instant variety. Then the person's account sees what they pick for free. They have to buy whatever else. You know what I mean? It's kind of the same. It just kind of screws them up when they want to do a big bad, but I'm sure they can figure out some rules behind that. But the high evolutionary
fuck the
thing,
rules. Just let me get the big bad.
Yeah. The high evolutionary thing just really has me thinking a few different things. But yeah, all the mirror matches was during that first day or two of high evolutionary, it was probably an unpopular opinion, but I've never been so bored of Marvel Snap in my life. Like
I was in the same boat. Like, and I had no motivation to climb. It was just like
like playing against like Shuri decks and stuff when it was every other match. Like this, I feel was worse. And listen, I am like a far left, like progressive motherfucker. I want equal shit for everybody, but like this was nuts. this was, I was like, this is brutal. But if they did that with more cards, we wouldn't run into that issue, right? Because everybody would be trying different things. This was just everybody got the same thing on the same day, and that was it, you know? But yeah, if I had to deal with that for 24 hours every single week, like just everybody got the brand new card for free and everybody was experimenting with it, I would take 24 hours off. That would be worse to me than like featured in hot locations, you know? Like it was just brutal. Because I mentioned this in a video, like with as much RNG that comes along with Marvel Snap, like most of the games just came down to who got the better draw with their high evolutionary deck, right? Did you pull Luke Cage, or did I? Did you pull your counter? Did you pull your rogue or enchantress, or did I? You know, and it was just like So I'm glad like that settled down pretty quick, and I think since we saw such a decline in the popularity of high evolutionary after that 24 hours, like a lot of people felt that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think High Evolutionary is a good card. I still think when it's all said and done, it's not going to be one of the best decks. Like, I still stand by my video of like where I think that, you know, Iron Lad is the best card released this month. And I think people are like looking at it too much of like, you know, High Evolutionary is like will have the biggest impact. And I think that's true for the first day or two, but when it's all said and done, it's a card that's very good, very, very interesting, and very fun to play with. But it's not as you know, straightforward, like as easy to slot into things and that stuff like that. Like I've seen people like foot the ideas of like, now you can just do little packages of High Evolutionary, just do High Evo and like one or two other cards. I'm like, I don't know if that's good enough,
dude. Going back to what we were talking
like
about,
the Lockjaw deck plays a few of those, but at least that one that does like 4 cards. It's like the Thing, Wasp. It does like in the Hulk, I think it's, and then like maybe his Shocker, another small thing.
Like
and like
back to the thing about like these high MMR people, like Lambie series, like one of the best like Thanos players. Like I like learning from him and watching him play. But he tweeted out when High Evolutionary came out, like his favorite Thanos deck. And I played with it, and it was just garbage for where I'm at in my MMR. It literally had High Evolutionary in a Thanos deck, and then just Wasp and Hulk. It just had 2 cards. So you have High Evolutionary, which is like a dead draw, right?
Yeah.
Then you have Wasp, which is just basically doing what Soulstone already does, and then you have like a stronger Hulk if you're lucky. You know what I mean? And that really made me think like you can't just like toss High Evolutionary with a couple cards. It has to be you know, like a third of your deck almost to really pull some things off.
You have to be dedicated around the idea of like either afflict or floating or something like that.
Yeah, and it's hard to say like between like High Evo and like Iron Lad, because Iron Lad could slot into so many decks and give you value in different ways, whereas High Evolutionary, what I am always trying to teach people is you don't want predictable decks, because when you're playing against good players, they either A, retreat because they know what's coming and they know they're going to lose, or even worse, they stay because they know they're going to win, right? Mm-hmm. So like with High Evolutionary being so popular, knowing what's coming with their cards, like good players are just going to bounce. They're going to bounce or they're going to stay because they're going to Luke Cage or they're going to Enchantress your Luke Cage, or, you know, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'll go as far to say, I honestly do think that the version of regular Lockdown comparatively to High Evolutionary, I think the regular dedicated version of Lockdown is better than the High Evo Lockdown. Yeah,
see, that's what I was wondering. I'm like, is it
here's the thing though. Deck? In a match against one another, I think the High Evo deck is slightly favored because they have the ability to throw Cyclops onto that Storm location that I just made myself and fuck up my game plan. Yeah. But against the mass of the meta and the majority of what you're playing against, and I think the Lockdown version is an easier way of teching against stuff. But I think overall, I think the normal dedicated Lockdown version is better.
You know what? I wonder if we can look that up. We got to wrap up soon, but I wonder if we can look that up. How can I share my screen? Does this?
You should be able to.
Let's see.
Towards the bottom.
Share.
Share screen, then do window.
Ooh, window. Okay, let's go. So I have this beautiful. Are you seeing this?
It's working. There we go. I see it.
Okay, nice.
Can we zoom in a little bit? Can we like just kind of like increase it a little bit?
How's
there
that?
You go. Perfect.
Nice. So let's check this out. Let's go to decks and let's type in. I wonder if I could type in lockdown. No, that doesn't work.
No, just do a card. Just do
how about
do
Professor
like a
X?
Professor X. Yeah.
Yeah. So Professor X, and this latest patch 70 to 99. I like that. That's just like the top ranks and whatever. Yeah. So the High Evolutionary one, 1,600 games, 56.2% win rate. And where's
seen a lot of high Evo.
Now, look at this. High Evolutionary.
Exclude it. There you go.
Exclude it. So this is just from the latest patch. Let's do last 30 days.
Yeah.
So that way we get a good idea. So this one has a 56% win rate. Hold on.
That's interesting.
Side by
Spider-Woman
side.
and stuff?
Yeah,
that one.
is interesting.
Go back to the other one real quick. There's another one on the right that's closer to my list. Yeah, Gamora. That one's actually running Iron Lad, which I like. Juggernaut's interesting.
Look at that, 61%.
I don't know how I feel about Nightcrawler. I'm always iffy on Nightcrawler when I have Jeff. But I mean, those are both pretty good. I mean, look at 0.38, 0.33, 56, 56. Those are good win rates.
So this is with, how can we refresh this?
The one on the left has a little bit of a move package with Jeff and Miles and stuff, and Polaris. I like that.
So why is this not showing High Evolutionary now as one of the top decks? Do I just type them in?
Yeah, sure.
There we go.
Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Brad in post doing some editing, and I want to point out that the grabs that you see on the screen here are the wrong versions that were grabbed incorrectly. Basically, we were talking about the ones that included Professor X with High Evo, while the one that you see on the screen here do not. So, little discrepancy there. That's about it. Enjoy the rest of the show.
So 56% win rate, 0.32 is their top. This is 56.8 with 0.38. Mm-hmm. So look at that. And the game count's almost the same. So look at
14
that.
14 to 16.
This one without High Evolutionary has better stats. Where's the one closer to your list?
Though it was one on the right, which is that fit. Keep going up.
Up.
It was the one to the top right. That one's a bit closer.
So 56.5, 0.33, still higher than this. Look at that. Like, I wonder if this deck, but again, because so many people are playing High Evolutionary, I wonder if a month down the line we'll see. Because my question is, how do you
that'd be a better representation of, like, and of course, the other thing that's flawed, like, this is great stats to look at, but the thing that's flawed about it is it's, I guarantee you, under 10% of the actual amount of people that are A, even playing these decks, and B, the overall amount of meta share in general. Because I guarantee you, if I looked at second dinners numbers of, like, this exact deck, what is the cube rate and the win rate and stuff like that, I guarantee you almost every single deck featured on these websites are going to be significantly lower by like a 10% win rate drop and like a 0.10 cube rate drop, because the average person is what you have to think about and their efficiency with playing, even in the higher levels. Even in the higher levels.
Yeah, it's really, and like the thing is too, like, here, I'll bring up my stats real quick. So check this out. My first Living Tribunal video I put up. Yeah, right. It evenly distributes. My first one was this deck right here.
Wouldn't that be communism? Isn't socialism is making sure that the workers have the means of which their own production, and communism is the evenly distributed?
Yeah. I always
everyone has that.
Flip-flop. I'm a bad fucking leftist. One of them I called Marx. But anyways, so the negative one, what I'm getting at is I don't have the data on my phone, right? When I was playing this on my phone, dude, I jumped up 5 ranks, right? Mm-hmm. I started recording on my computer and just had the worst luck. So that's the other thing about this data that we're getting from Untapped. It's not getting phone data. So not only are we not getting
the mass majority of the players.
Yeah, not only are we getting the mass majority of, so yeah, second dinner's information is so much different. But here's that hella deck. Look at the cubes. Look at the cubes out of 15 games, dude.
10-5, 66.7 win rate.
That shit was nuts.
I really like it in a Hella shell. I think that's a very nice spot for it, because you just get all these big things, and then now you're like, I'm just gonna. I don't have, because before this actually, I think this helps Hella quite a bit, because the biggest problem with Hella is not only the RNG of getting Hella to drop anyway, but the RNG of where your shit goes. I've beaten Hella quite a few times when they have all their power, but it goes into one lane, and I'm like, I got the other 2 lane. If that Infinite just went in a different location, I would have lost, but because it didn't, I win. Now with Living Tribunal, it makes it so it just you get 40 power in one lane, and then like now it just distributes the rest, and you're looking at 20 each lane basically. When you look at all the power, I think that's very, very good for the deck.
Yeah, I do love having a use for Black Cat in a deck.
Black Cat is awesome as well. I wish I could play her more.
It's a free 7 power card. But yeah, you have to play the Hela deck like this deck right here. You have to play it like Galactus, right? If you have your combo, snap. If you don't, get out of there. Like if you have Invisible Woman, MODOK, and Hela, just snap. Just snap, you're going to be fine. Like, whatever happens, you're going to be fine. Even if I don't pull Living Tribunal, like Iron Man going on a lane, like anywhere with these high power cards, like, you're going to be good. But it is optimal to have Living Tribunal.
I will say Jubilee does concern me a little bit because I hate the idea of hitting Hela early.
Yeah, that is the one card I'm staring at, and I'm like, I want to replace. You know, that's what I should replace. Because as I was recording my video, I'm like, I want to squeeze America Chavez in here because this is a very combo-centric deck, so you want to make sure you hit your combo.
Yeah, I think Jubilee would be the cut there. Yeah. I like the idea of, cheating out your big stuff, right? But I also just, the idea of like getting Tribunal out too early where it's going to be Enchantress, or Hela out too early where you haven't discarded anything, at least the value maybe beyond like a Black Cat early on, then that kind of dissuades me a bit.
Yeah, this right here, this is my Howard deck. It is still solid. This is the deck I was talking about when I was running it. Oh, God, I love it. I love it.
55%. Now, only +4 net cubes across
on my computer.
48 games. Yeah. 38 games, sorry. Math wrong. But, yeah, I think that's close to what I was doing. I think the Kitty Angela package is interesting.
I used to have Beast in here for something because I was experimenting. I was doing a little cooking. And I was like, maybe I could do some bounce. But I went. Oh, I think I took Beast. How would
you feel about a Nova Killmonger package in that?
Possibly.
Is it too cluttered? Like, is it awkward for the costs?
Like,
because if you have Zabu down and Darkhawk costs 3, then you can't do Killmonger, Darkhawk, Nova on the last turn, right? That does make your shit a little awkward.
Yeah, it gets a little wonky.
So maybe not that. I was trying to think because I don't know what else you would do, because I think Killmonger is a card that's a bit underplayed at the moment, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah, I've noticed a little bit more Sarah Control. That's where he pops up. But yeah, Killmonger.
Yeah, it's really the only place I see him, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been playing against so many Sarah decks recently, though. It's ridiculous. But yeah, the last thing I want to chat with you about real quick is, and this changed because I didn't realize you climbed so much, but you tweeted out something about the struggle of this season. And I've had a lot of people say this season has been tough and more difficult, and I'm just curious your thoughts about this season compared to others. In my opinion, it's just all the OTAs, and I think it's harder for people to keep up, maybe. But I personally think I think that's a good thing, right? Because 2 months ago, the number one complaint was "quote unquote" stale meta, right? Like you had like a couple decks that were the top. I hated playing those top decks, or when Sandman pre Sandman nerf. And that was one of the top decks. Like, it was just super boring. Like, now I like going into different decks. I like the fact, other people might not like this, I like the fact that I have to do research. I like that I have to spend a little time keeping up with things, right? Like, it feels like that's rewarded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just, I think the problem with people identifying or looking at things that a particular meta saying it's stale just goes down to the poor attention span that people have, unfortunately, when it comes to games. And that's just a part of it. People want new things. They want new toys, new cards, new people to play as, new characters, new weapons, whatever it is, whatever game you're playing. They want new content to make the either that or they want something substantial to grind towards, which Snap does not have that at the moment. I don't think Infinite is a substantial enough thing to grind towards at all. Maybe Conquest would change that.
Yeah. But
as for the difficulty of the climb, I think that is attributed to the way the meta has been a little bit more shaky lately. Sarah has been pretty much the most consistent thing I've seen, but there's been a lot of changes. I've seen there was a day or two where Surfer was the thing I saw the absolute most. There was another day where I saw nothing but Sarah control. Lately, then of course there was a High Evolutionary thing, which is that's all I was seeing, and then even now. The deck I'm seeing the most the last couple of days is the lockdown version of High Evolutionary. So it and I'm sure my experience, I've talked about this enough, is different from someone else's. Maybe they're seeing the most deck they're playing is Hella something or whatever, like just XYZ. It doesn't matter. It's hard.
And you know what? I've So by the way, I mentioned this at the very end of a podcast for anybody who sticks around for those, that I was going to work on a Marvel Snap beginner's guide. I finally sat down and started working on the outline, but I also, since I hit Infinite early, I've had some time and I've done some coaching of subscribers. I'll have them send me the video and I'll just record myself watching their gameplay. I'm telling you guys, anybody listening, it's a lot of the same mistakes repeatedly, right? And it's these little like bad habits of snapping and retreating, not having good like deck recognition of what you're going up against and what their potential power output is. Those are just like these little things that I swear to God will make a lot of you so much better and make that climb a little bit easier, you know, because I'm watching and I've done this a couple times. Like, it's weird. The last time I did this was about 3 months ago, but the people who sent me videos 3 months ago and the people who sent me videos now, same issues, right? So it's like a lot of people who are having that struggle, you have the same bad habits that can easily be fixed, you know? But I think Conquest Mode is going to change a lot of things. Like right now, we just know what it takes to rank up, but in Conquest Mode, it's going to be much different because it's going to be like a battle mode setting, you know what I mean? And best 2 out of 3. You know, so. Which
we still haven't gotten any information on that. Even in the wonderful content creation thing we're a part of, we haven't gotten anything in that yet.
People keep saying that. I am 99% sure they gave us a release date of June.
No, they did.
Oh,
they did.
Okay.
When they originally announced it, like months ago. Or officially, like it was on the time, the roadmap. But when they released, I think it was actually when they released the roadmap, they're like, this is when it's coming out. Conquest is coming out in like June. We are getting it next month. We're supposed to be. We haven't gotten any additional info, is what I'm saying. Like nothing. Yeah, nothing beyond that.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up is because I've seen some people saying that like they just said summer, and I'm like, nah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 319 roadmap overview.
Yeah.
So items listed. New competitive mode, conquest mode. Let me just scan this. Yeah, in June. It says we're hoping to release Conquest in June, but we haven't heard anything of delays. Let's poke some people in the Discord and see if we can get confirmation. Because yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Conquest mode, for those who are unaware, by the way, is just like a new kind of battle mode, but I'll read the whole thing. It's only real quick. Conquest mode takes battle mode format you know and love from friendly battles to the next level. In Conquest, players queue up against other players to face off in battle mode to earn rewards, which I like, by the way. I think that's the one thing about battle mode. I don't like having to find somebody. It's like if I could just queue up, but winning a series of battles without a loss unlocks tickets to higher leagues against tougher opponents, culminating with Infinity League at the end of each season. Players will be on their way to the top to claim ultimate victory. So we've wanted like an infinite leaderboard, and it sounds like we're going to get something similar. It says you'll start by choosing which league to compete, proving grounds, bronze, silver, gold, vibranium, or infinite. That's worded kind of weird. Let me send you this link. What do you think that means? You get to choose? What? You'll start by choosing which league to compete. Proving grounds, bronze, silver, gold, vibranium, or infinite. Like, could I just choose the top league?
Queue for Conquest. You'll start by choosing which league to compete. Proving Grounds, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Vibranium, or Infinite. Proving Grounds is always available to play. Players need to correspond. Okay, so yeah, I understand. So you have to start At Proving Grounds. It's the one that you're able to play first. And then, in order for you to be able to play at the higher tiers, you need the corresponding ticket for the respective previous tier. That's what I'm reading it as.
So what are you choosing? Where's the...
So you are choosing. So the choice is there's different leagues, and the leagues are going to be similar to the structure of Magic Arena or Magic Online, that kind of thing. Where it's a definitive structure of X amount of games. So I would imagine let's see if it says how many games. For example, winning your silver series will earn you a gold ticket. Players win a league series by defeating 3. So it's 3. So in Magic, a league on Magic Online is 5 matches. So a league for Snap is going to be 3 matches, and you have to win 3 of them consecutively. So now it's probably 3 consecutive, and then they're going to give you X amount of losses before you're kicked out of the league, I would imagine. I don't think you're just going to keep going until you do it. But if I go into a silver league and then I win my 3 consecutive matches there, I now get a ticket that shows I can show to the gold league when I try to enter it, be like, I have the silver one, let me in. And then you can continue doing that for higher rewards, supposedly, or higher leaderboard, bragging rights or whatever they end up doing completely. Now, beyond this, we don't know what's going to be happening. Interestingly enough, the card acquisition improvements I'm looking at right here isn't something that they did an extraordinarily great job of. The change of the last thing I want to say before we start going when it comes to card acquisition, though, outside of conquest mode, is they still need to do something for the acquisition of tokens, or at least the way that people can get them, or however they want to change card acquisition in general. It needs to be improved for Series 3 complete players, because we're approaching that plateau of like, it's getting really close to the mass majority of players on the player base. Yeah. If it's not already at that point, being Series 3 complete.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this, and I don't know. I might have to do a survey or something. But anyways, me being a whale. So basically, using my YouTube income, I reinvested into this to get new cards, test them out for all you beautiful people and stuff. But I'm at a point where I have so many tokens that I'm fine. I can get all the cards next month, and then I'll have an excess. And it's because I'm basically collection complete. I'm only missing 2 cards, Snowguard and Stegron. You know what I mean? But I have plenty of toys to play around with. So I'm wondering if there's a point 6 months from now, maybe by the end of the year, because yes, more people are hitting Series 3 complete. I had somebody ask me hey, I'm struggling this season. And one of the things they were asking me was, are players getting better? Yes, absolutely. More and more people are just learning how to snap and retreat a lot better. More and more people are learning what the metas are. So I'm curious if more people are going to reach a place where I am, where they have excess tokens and can have more of a choice. But something I recommend doing if you're not free to play, if you're planning on investing a little bit of money into this game, is just really pay attention to Marvel Snap Zone and other things that tell you how valuable each different bundle is. I get every single token Tuesday. It's a deal. You know what I mean? The collector bundle was an insane deal, even though it was such a high price. It was the best deal they've had, and you got 10,000 tokens. I think that's what really pushed me, into that excess. But yeah, anyways, I'm just wondering if it'll even itself out. What do we got here?
I was just showing, this is a poll that Snapster put out 4 weeks ago, has 46,000 votes, and it's what is your Marvel Snap collection level? And you can see the vast majority are mid, late, or pool 3 complete.
Yeah. Yeah, the highest number is pool 3 complete.
Yeah. And then so 34%. Well, I would just bump in mid to late and then late pool 3 together. So you got 56% are working on completing pool 3, and then 34% are pool 3 complete, and then 10% are early entering pool 3 or pool 1 and 2. So that's 4 weeks ago. And again, that is 46,000 people. That's not the entire player base. The player base is projected, I believe, last time I looked at the projections, around 800,000 We don't have all the numbers exactly, but there's some websites that look at data and like can help figure out like mobile games and stuff too. But combined with Steam, which Steam, by the way, is like what was it, like a congruity? It's like maybe 10,000 a month or whatever. Steam is like 10,000. The overall projection for Marvel Snap, last time I saw it from a few different places, was around 800,000. So.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, feeds into my thing about tier list and like, hey, Steam being the primary source of where you're getting a lot of these numbers from for trackers is under 10,000 in number comparatively to the projected 800,000 players on the game. Yeah. Now, are all those players actively playing? No. Let's say it's 50% are actually playing. Because a lot of them are going to be people that picked up the game, tried it, they have an account, and then don't play anymore. Let's cut that in half. Let's make it 400,000. That's still so small of a number comparatively to the amount of people playing the game.
God, that really puts into perspective what we were talking about, like how many stats we're actually tracking on Untapped, right? Like, I'm looking at the numbers. Just in the last 30 days, average number of players is 5,300. Peak players was over a 9,000. Back in March, it hit 10,000. January, it hit 11,000. But anyways, like, think about that. If average number of players is 5,300, how many of those people are running a tracker, right? And which one are they running? I run Untapped and Snapped Off Fan at the same time. But, yeah, like, it's a fraction of that, too. So we're getting like nothing. And Glenn Jones, by the way, came out and he had a very good answer for why they don't release the data, right? I like the answer, but I'm a data nerd, so I wish they would. But these are all things to just keep in mind. So yeah, I think they're about to start testing our fire alarms in my complex. So that's our sign to start wrapping up. So Brad, what are you working on over on your channel?
Also, it's projected 900K. It went up last time I checked. Estimated active players out of the 900K is estimated 509K, by the way, which that shows that 90, or actually it's more like 99% of the player base is on mobile.
That's crazy. That is absolutely bonkers.
As far as what I have coming up and I'm working on, I'm starting to try to do different things with like gameplay and stuff like that. I did a recent video that did with the high evolutionary thing. I think it had one of my worst viewer retention video as far as videos go, but I think that's because I didn't do a great job of explaining what the purpose of the video was. Where basically, like, I had an idea for a deck that went against high evolutionary, and it did okay against that particular deck, but then it was bad against other decks in general. And
there it is.
Oh, we got to mute him. And I basically was like, my deck sucks, and like I was like trying to be humorous about it, and then I actually went through gameplay, talked about my play, my choices, and I showcased the evolution of what this deck became into a deck that could be better against both high evolutionary and other decks. I think people just kind of tuned out of it before I got to that showcase of evolution, because I didn't up front say that's what I was doing. I was just like, I basically said in the beginning, this first rendition sucked. And then didn't elaborate, and then people were like, "Okay, he said the deck sucks." Bye. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to do more stuff like that.
Yeah, I wonder. I had my Hella deck video underperformed, and maybe because I'm too honest. I'm like, this deck sucks. Like, it didn't get any views. People are like, I don't want to watch a video on a sucky deck. But to go off what you're saying, and like, I've said this, and it isn't because Brad's my co-host. Like, I'm a very honest person. Going back to me hitting my sobriety birthday this month, honesty has been a key part of my sobriety. So, like, if I don't like something, I'd rather lie by omission. And I'd just be like, cool, Brad. And I'd maybe retweet or whatever. But what I'm getting at is Brad is one of the best content creators out there. I love his videos. They're different. They're original. But the thing that bothers me is that the creative videos aren't getting as many views. Something like just being in the YouTube space for years now and just content creation, something I'm always doing. I'm like, whose target audience would I love to have? What creator, right? My thing is Educated Collins, right? He does a lot of educational videos. He uses slides. He walks through stuff. And I feel like you're kind of in that same realm. And I wish the YouTube algorithm would show our kind of stuff that does that, like just not a deck highlight, to those kind of audiences, because I think there's people who are interested, but I don't think the YouTube algorithm knows who to show it to. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of just showing them to like, oh, hey, here's the deck people. But your one on the tech cards did decent. Is that your best Marvel Snap video?
Yeah, it was my first and only one so far. It's been over 1,000 in views. Yeah. That was like 1.3 last time I checked.
Yeah,
so that one did perfectly fine.
So listeners, if you're bored of just deck highlight videos and you want other stuff, engage with the videos, like, comment, share. Those are the things that YouTube looks at. But like Brad was saying too, audience retention is a huge one. So stick through the video. Even if you start watching, you're like, I don't like it. If you want to help support the content, just leave the video on in the background. Yeah. Because as far as what I'm working on, I think I'm going to put some focus on the book. It doesn't mean it's going to take away from my content too much, but I do want to start making more educational stuff. Like, as a content creator and as a very busy person, I work full time. I'm also a dad, and I do freelance writing. I do a weekly reading list, all sorts of shit. The time and effort, and you probably run into this too, Brad, the time and effort that goes into those videos, and if they don't get enough views, there's the opportunity cost, right? I'm like, if I'm spending a bunch of hours on this type of video, and I'm not getting that many views, but I get more views just saying, here's a fun deck to play. I'm just going to crank that out if it's faster. So audience, you got to help us out with the algorithm if you want more interesting things discussed in videos. But like what you're talking about right here, real quick, I would love to see more videos like that. I want deck building videos. I want, in-depth deck breakdowns, the strategy. I think one place where Cozy Snap just is fucking killing it, and I don't think he gets enough credit. Like, people just say he's the best creator. He's doing these play-by-plays, ideal play lines and shit like that, right? I don't know where he finds the time to do that. I'm like sitting there, I'm like, fuck, dude, like I wish I could do that. I try to discuss it in the intro, but like, I would love to see more videos like that, like really breaking it down. When people just post a highlight video and then give me their play-by-play, I'm like, dude, I have eyes. I don't need to hear you walking me through. I want to know the strategy behind it. But yeah, we got cool stuff. So yeah, Brad, tell everybody where they can find you and your amazing content that you're working on.
You can find me on YouTube at Bradsifer, and you can find me on Twitter at Bradsifer. It's spelt like Lucifer, but with Brad in front of it. Very easy to remember.
Yeah, and you can find me at BootmanMSTZ on Twitter. You're watching this on YouTube, and as usual, Brad's stuff's linked down below too, because you're watching this on my YouTube channel. Go over to his, check out his stuff. So that's all I got,
Brad. And as always, we love you. We appreciate you. You guys are the best. We would not be able to do this type of show without your support in any capacity whatsoever. And regardless of your feedback, criticisms, or nitpicks, you watching, even if you're a hate watcher, means the world to us. And we hope you do that again. Not next week, but the week after. Bye-bye.
Peace.